Foley and Ben Dils from iHeart. Kris is our Metro President for Central Ohio. She's a 20-year media veteran with a commitment to unleashing entrepreneurial spirit of business leaders through the development of smart, omni-channel marketing strategies. In her role, she leverages iHeart's extensive range of content technologies to bring brands together in new ways with consumers across all of the company's businesses, iHeartMedia's 859 radio stations and iHeartRadio. A creative thinker who loves thoughtful marketing solutions, Kris and her team develop strategic campaigns that pique curiosity, drive search, and ignite consumer engagement. She's an alumni of Ohio University and lives in New Albany with her husband and 3 children, and she omitted her adorable dog, Zippy, from her bio, but Zippy is very cute.
You'll probably see him at some point today. So oh, yes. He's not very quiet.
And we also have Ben Dils joining us. He's our Vice President of Digital Sales. Ben is a native and current resident of Granville. Ben has been in the digital marketing arena for 15 years and enjoys helping businesses navigate the ever-changing world of digital marketing. Ben and his wife, Denise, have 2 beautiful daughters, Ella and Hallie. In his free time, Ben enjoys giving back to the community and serves as the Director of Outreach for the SO Foundation. He also enjoys reading, playing basketball, tennis, and hiking with his daughters. And Ben, just a quick little addendum on my own. Ben touched on it a little bit, and Kris did not touch on it at all, but both Ben and Kris are very active in a philanthropic way. They both are very active with nonprofits. Kris runs her own, so they both live the Rotary creed of service above self every day. So please welcome them both.
Hi. It's nice to see you all. Thank you for having us in here today. We appreciate it. So Amanda had given us some background on some of the things you were hoping to discuss. This really is for your benefit. So we have a quick PowerPoint that we can present and walk through. But as we get started, I want to make sure that we hit upon the important things. So Amanda had asked us to talk a little bit about just who we are as a company, and then talk a little bit about what's happening with consumer behavior right now and media usage, to educate on what we're seeing across the country as well as here in Columbus. And then, that whole marketing playbook, it's kind of crazy right now as we all work to try and grow our businesses. This has been a year that's been nuts. So there's no other way to explain it. So just looking at some of those playbooks and the things that we're seeing as companies pivot. Does that sound okay? All right, awesome. Ben, do you want to share your screen or do you want me to share my screen?
I'll share my screen.
Okay, cool. So we're all learning how to work remotely, right? So it's a whole different ball of game, I guess I would say. So, so let's go ahead. And here is the agenda we just walked through. So because you asked, we're going to talk about iHeart for 90 seconds flat. So I need someone to start the timer. Amanda, I'm going to make it you because you'll be honest. But a little bit about who we are as a company, and then the trends that we're seeing in that new playbook. So iHeartMedia. A lot of people here in Columbus know us as positive local brands like WNCI and WCOL and The Bus and 610 WTVN. We are a part of a master brand that is much larger, and that's the brand of iHeartRadio, the parent company being iHeartMedia. So the idea is to be able to give everybody in America a friend, a companion, and that's what our personalities are to our audiences. They actually develop a parasocial relationship. The people, because Dave and Jimmy or Kayla, who just had her baby over the weekend, because they talk about their life so much, you have a perceived relationship with them. And then that extends into social and digital and experiential. So the iHeartRadio app it has 140 million registered users across the United States. That's important because we're able to take that data from the behavior of those registered users, and we're able to apply it to help make some marketing recommendations for our advertisers. We don't sell that data. we use it to create index models that help us really target the right consumer at the right moment. We recently purchased, and I say recently, it's been a little bit over a year, the How Stuff Works, which is a podcasting company, and we've now formed the iHeartMedia podcast network. We were recently, actually, as of last month, we're the #1 podcaster in the world, which is pretty amazing. And podcasting is this really unique space where it's almost like talk radio, but on demand, and a really great place to meet enthusiasts and join in there. Ben, I'll let you talk about the devices that we're on.
Yeah. No, currently we're on, in this case, as Kris said, podcasting obviously being the #1 podcaster in the United States, but we can connect with consumers on over 250 plus platforms and devices. So specifically now, most of you, not all, some may have smart speakers, which is interesting. An interesting statistic there is 53% of homes that have smart speakers have multiple smart speakers. So just another way to connect there as well.
And the social followers are also a part of that. So as you're building out these rich media campaigns, as you can see from broadcast all the way down to digital integration, we can be good partners. I hope that was 90 seconds. So on to understanding what's happening with today's media climate. It really is crazy when you think about how, the wildfires in Australia were in January, and that almost feels like it was a year ago. Or 2 years ago. It feels so distant. We've been through a lot. The American economy, though, is showing resilience and showing a commitment to supporting local, which is really good to see, to being the right type of a person, living those Rotary values in terms of supporting community causes. So that's positive. We are seeing a lot of trends that are interesting in media. So the first and foremost is, the phenomenon of binge watching is real. And what we noticed is that through COVID, the rate of watching television, as well as devices like Netflix or Hulu, those Amazon Prime, those have all skyrocketed. Now they skyrocketed in the early part of Q2. We saw it tapering off a bit in June, which makes sense because people were finally able to start to go out a little bit. So anybody that did advertising and television, that was a really great ROI. And so something to think about, though, is, news fatigue. So one of the things that I do is I work with both our team of account executives and our marketing consultants, as well as our on-air team. And so really working with the personalities on 610 WTVN, we had to be mindful because about the early May, this whole phenomenon of news fatigue really started to set in. And we realized that people wanted to hear good news, not all the statistics of how bad it was out there was becoming painful for people. And we do research every single day with our audiences across the country. But we are seeing a bright spot in terms of the marketing mix is OTT, which is over the top advertising on devices that are not traditional television. And Ben, I'll let you talk a little bit to that.
Yes, Kris, it's non-traditional, so it's through a connected device. And what's interesting, 30% of households in Columbus have cut the cord. So there's different narrative for people that have cut the cord. Cord cutters are people who have obviously canceled their cable subscription. Then there's also what's called cord shavers. Those are people who are trying to get away but can't yet disconnect from cable. I just became a cord cutter. So 30% of Columbus have now cut the cord, which is really large statistic. And then since the pandemic, 32% of consumers added at least one paid streaming video service. Again, we're continuing to see increases in this space. And OTT is the new TV. And it's the way to communicate via video.
And a lot of times as people are trying to find ways to save money and be mindful and fiscally responsible, you really can't cut back your utilities too much. However, television, cable subscriptions, direct TV, that's an area where you can free yourself from some sizable monthly expenses. So this data was as of May. We're seeing trends that expect this number to get much higher. So audio usage. So looking at other media and how it's being used right now. Listing is different because of COVID. So we're finding commuting patterns are all different as businesses start to try and keep their employees safe as they start to go back into, in some cases, physical offices or warehouses. They are staggering start times. So the traffic is not as bad as it used to be, which is a plus. We'll take that. But they're also listing at different times in different ways. So pre-COVID, radio reached 93% of America. Right now, we're seeing that about 86% of Americans are listening to broadcast on a weekly basis. That's across the country. People are also sleeping in a little bit. This is another trend. So on average, we're seeing listening starting about 72, to be precise, 72 minutes later in the day than they had been. And we're also seeing that that traveling in cars over the weekend is way up. So that's spiking weekend listenership as well as evening listenership. And what's great about that's actually year over year up. And what's good about that is because that can be a very affordable time to advertise. And if you just think about how you as a consumer go about your day, I do find myself doing a lot more at night. I want to be careful about when I go out in public, and also running errands on the weekend. So the most listened to day part now has shifted from morning drive, which is in the morning, in the mornings, usually typically between 6 and 10 a.m. The most popular time for radio listenership on broadcast is now between 3 and 7:30. So a lot of people ask questions about how entertainment and audio content is being captured. We're still seeing right now the trend of 81% still listen to broadcast radio and 19% listen to streaming choices. An example of a streaming choice is Pandora or Spotify or our iHeartMedia app with 140 million registered users. The other thing we're seeing is girls like my twins waking up at about 72 minutes later, so they're up about 9 or 9:15, and the first thing they do is go downstairs and they're like, Alexa, turn on WNCI on iHeartRadio. And I guarantee you she's going to turn on right now. Yes, she is. She just came on. But the listening in home has definitely surged because of smart devices. And Ben, I'll let you talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, as I mentioned earlier, 53%, of households that have a smart speaker have multiple devices. It's interesting, the two primary areas where people are listening are bedroom and living room. Those hold the highest percentage of listening. As you can see here, 43% more people are listening to our current app or online delivery platforms than pre-COVID. So as Kris mentioned earlier, we're continuing to see increases. Also, 35% more people are listening to our content on smart TVs. So again, the in-home experience, we have a lot of advertisers that work with us on kind of redefining what their marketing plan looks like. And we'll talk more about that based on the in-home consumption and the increases we're seeing.
And then the one consistent thing that you can see on both areas, both with OTT and also with digital audio, is that digital usage is up significantly. So, and there's a couple of reasons for this. First off, everyone wants to feel connected, right? If you're isolated and you're trying to have your connection to the outside world, these on-air personalities, they can help do that. The marketing mix. So a big buzzword with CMOs is how do you do countertop marketing these days? And with smart speakers being in the home and often the first ones in the nucleus of the home in the kitchen, it allows you to get that marketing message right there. Digital also allows you to use that data to make really good decisions and help with some out-of-home solutions. For example, if you are a business and you're trying, let's just say that your business isn't operating physically right now, but you want to find a way to engage people who have been fans in the past and who have shopped with you in the past. There are ways that we can geo-fence, is the term, establishments, whether it's your own or competitors or like models. This is where your customers tend to go or tended to go, even as, it could be this time last year, we can go trace that data, or we could go back to pre-COVID of this year, and we can actually serve up digital display ads, mobile display ads to people because they visited you before. So it allows you to help reemerge and target that exact person who shopped with you before. So Ben, let's talk a little bit, a couple of examples of things that you're seeing Ben spends a lot of time focusing on these really smart targeted solutions for our partners. What are some things that you're seeing, Ben, that really stand out that you think have some nice lessons to learn from?
Yeah, it's a good question. There's two primary ones, Kris, that I want to call out. One is a proprietary platform that we have called Local Lock, which you as a business owner, it allows you to have 100% control of all of your directory listings across the web. In these COVID times, it's very important because it allows you to do things like update your hours of business, update your phone number. So it allows you to communicate properly across all of those channels. So Local Lock, a lot of our advertisers seen a lot of success there and just communicating with their loyal customers as well as potential new customers that may be looking for businesses like them. So Local Lock is definitely one tactic that we've seen have an impact on a lot of local businesses during COVID. Next is email marketing. So you may have your own internal email database that you market to, but how else can you grow the business? We have over 280 million emails in our database that we have access to that we can target to people in a specific geographic area that fit certain criteria. So again, another way to kind of stimulate things as you continue to try to reopen, try to continue to increase your current database. So those are two primary areas, Local Lock and email, that a lot of our advertisers through COVID have had a lot.
And open rates are pretty amazing right now. So in the past, we were averaging, so with the targeted email, you're able to really pick important dynamics of the customer. And there's a number of vendors out there that can do this, which is why I think it's so relevant for us to talk to. But what's great about this is you don't waste marketing. These are people that have shown to have reason to be intent on a business or service. And so pre-COVID, we were seeing open rates of about 10 to 15%. What are the open rates like now, Ben?
We've seen some as high as 25%. So, went from 10 to 15, now that 20 to 25%.
Right.
So as people continue to consume information at home, it continues to increase.
Right. So very, very good. Do you want to talk a little bit about how important it is to really make sure websites are up to date? Because this is probably the most important thing that we can do as leaders for our businesses, is to make sure that that online beauty pageant is a good experience.
Yeah, absolutely, Kris. And this kind of goes back to the tactic that I mentioned on the previous page. Local Lock, it really just focuses mainly on your directory listings, but I can't stress the importance of making sure that your business is visible online. And in this case, these statistics just kind of reinforce that. But 72% of consumers trust online reviews as much as personal recommendations from real people. So again, it's very important to make sure that, one, you're visible, and then two, you have a good reputation online, and make sure that you're paying attention to what people are saying about your business. If people do say something negatively about your business, I would highly recommend that you respond so that people know that it's real world. And people tend to trust real world interaction online more than, say, fraudulent activity. So, and as well, 68% of consumers go to social networking sites to read product reviews. My wife was looking for a new light for our foyer. She went online, she was searching, reading all of her social sites to see if, these specific products she was looking for had good reviews and that people were saying positive things. Third is 90% of consumers say that positive online reviews influence their buying decisions. So again, very important to make sure, one, you're visible, and two, when you are visible, making sure that you're monitoring what's happening and what people are saying about the business online.
Right. This is all considered reputation management. And for those of you on the call, we do offer a service that is called Local Lock. And if you're interested in learning a little bit more, Amanda will be able to help you with that. We're able to work with the vendor we work with on this and negotiate a discount for Rotary members because of how important we feel this is. I mean, it's just, as a business owner, it is so hard to keep on top of everything. And the fact that you can update hours in real time and they go back to all of the service lines and all of the search platforms. So whether it's using a Google, updating hours on Google, or updating them on Foursquare, Yelp, all of them are in one place. And the app actually allows you to get reviews in real time. You can respond back through an app. So instead of having to search out and look for all different things, they're all in one place and in real time. And to Ben's point, a lot of times, when people go to leave reviews, they're either really, really happy or really, really not happy. And so responding to one of those negative reviews, people expect that, but they want to see exactly what happened. And when you're able to get that pop up on your phone and that alert, and then you can respond right back through a text messaging feature, and that then sends out the review or the response to the review, people are like, wow, that business is so on it. They're trying to resolve the problem, and you can win a lot of customers that way. We really do recommend that you focus a lot on your websites. And Amanda and Ben and I are offering, if anyone would like to do so, my dad's an entrepreneur. He has a shipping company, and he asked me as we're going to COVID, Kris, what's the one thing that we should do right now? And I said, we have to do a deep dive on your website. Make sure it's updated. Make sure that it makes a good representation of who you are. It's so, so important. So working on that is very crucial, and we're here to help. We'll give you a very candid analysis of what it looks like from our vantage point. Sometimes it's nice to have an outsider look in, and to go from there. So we're there to do that for you, free of charge.
Yeah, the one thing I would mention, Kris, is if you don't like the results, then you can take that up with Amanda, not Kris and I. No, I'm just kidding.
It's our job to bring up the insights and the human truths that we are aware of. And sometimes, I didn't evaluate my dad's own website because I helped build it. I'm too close to it. So, but I asked one of my coworkers to do so, and the things that they came up with were really wow, and it made it so much better. So the next thing I'll talk about is just, given all these consumer trends, how do you find a way, we jokingly say that marketing playbook should be just thrown out, and, we have to create a new one. And so, yeah, right now we are in the process of doing that. So how do you pivot this playbook right now? There's a couple of things that are happening that you should, we really need to be mindful of. The first thing is that right now, if you had one target in the past, you now have, hey girls, can you be quiet, please? You now have almost two completely different types of consumers. You have one who is cautious, and you have to find a way to make them feel comfortable and probably pivot your business a little bit to help connect with them. So that's virtual consults, which can actually be a really good thing. We're seeing a lot of home improvement companies that are doing virtual consults with FaceTiming or Zooming just like this, and they're able to build a really personal relationship quite quickly. So there are opportunities there. But service that goes the distance, contactless delivery, finding ways to use technology to put your place in line, those types of things are also important. Then you also have the other type of the consumer who's like, I'm ready, I want to get out there, I feel trapped, I want to go experience things, I want to have that experience that I'm used to having. So what we're telling marketers right now is that if you can't afford to do it, you almost need to develop two different strategies that appeal to both of those types of consumers. You also want to make sure that you try and use mobility trends to guide you forward, because that's really in real time, where are these devices going and how much are they moving? If you look through this is an analysis of 2020 since COVID hit, and it looks at the different things, whether it's walking, which is in yellow, driving, which is in red, or transit, mass transit, which is in purple. And you can simply search Apple mobility trends, and you'll be able to pull this up. It's updated pretty quickly. As you can see, I pulled this yesterday, and it was already updated to August 8th. So what this shows is that there is a 70% increase to driving compared to when the baseline of COVID hit. Same goes with walking. The mass transit is much lower, that purple line, and all the analysts are telling us to expect to see that continue. So, but what I like about using this data is you can decide really where is the inertia of the consumer. Are they out and about? Obviously when it dips below, which if we have a second wave, it probably will dip again. Then you want to really make sure you're anchoring your marketing with that in-home portfolio of options, and there's plenty out there. Whereas when you're outdoors, people are on the go, you want to reach them through out of home. So I just love this resource. We have also, because we have that data on the 140 million registered users, we're able to pinpoint and look at the healthy metropolises throughout the country. And this is as of the 2nd of August. So if you can imagine the low point of COVID, in terms of traffic going to what's considered non-essential brick and mortar locations. So the grocery store is not going to be factored into this, but because we've mapped hundreds of thousands of devices and mapped locations throughout the country, we can see when a cell phone is on me and it goes in and out of a location. So we use that data to make some analysis for you. And as you can see, the low point in Columbus, there was a 40% reduction in people traveling. And then it started to recover, so we're now back at about 96% of the original types of traffic that we were seeing. Now, what we can't show here is what the experience is like for the consumer. Most likely, while we're seeing a 90% recovery rate in terms of visits, those people, we're seeing the visits being a lot shorter. So that most likely means they're picking up something, contactless delivery, or they're spending less time in store. They simply want to get in, get out, so the upsell opportunities are not there as much as they used to be. So, so that's that data for you. A couple things that we've seen. I mean, this quote really stood out to me. Is, you know, the reality is, because of COVID, we've covered a decade in days when it comes to the adoption of digital, and it is so important to be able to find a partner who can help you navigate these areas. Think about online delivery. They saw a 10-year change in only 8 weeks in terms of adoption. So you really have to, and there are different tools that you can use to be able to be a part of that. So it's not just the big companies that are able to do the delivery. Telemedicine, 10 times in just 15 days, 10 times the usage. And it's continued to go up. And then obviously the data from Zoom, which is where the statistic comes from, 20 times the participants in the past 3 months as a result of using that software. So digital integration is really a must. And what all the analysts are showing us is that these are trends that were most likely going to happen over time. They just happen so much faster. So, so there's different ways that you can use the technology to your advantage, and just be mindful of it. Ben, do you want to talk a little bit about consumer journeys and how you can use different types of tactics, no matter what vendor you use, whether it's us or not, but just how to look at it from the funnel, most consideration to purchase?
Absolutely. So as mentioned, when putting together the playbook, it's very important to, one, set the expectations, but when you're setting expectations, understanding what the consumer is trying to do. So really understanding the purchase cycle and how to kind of best guide potential customers or existing customers through that. So the first part of the funnel, so to speak, that we really look at for you is just raising awareness about the business. So again, it's like the high level megaphone, where you're really just reaching out with that megaphone, telling people, hey, I'm here. This is what I do. And through awareness, you really can target consumers by demo and geography. And from a marketing perspective, there's a lot of different tactics that we can use in order to raise awareness about the business. In this case, we may recommend display advertising targeted to a specific section of town that allows you to raise awareness in the area that you serve. Next is just the interest part of the consumer journey. Is how do I get more interest, or the people that are aware or not aware of me to have more interest? And that's through standing out. And that's building trust, communicating the things that the services that you deliver. Could be the fact that you've been in business for 35 years, your reviews. So pushing out the positive reviews that people are talking about your services. And that can be done through several different channels, but in this case, it could be email marketing. So we can do email marketing targeted to a specific audience and a specific part of town, geography, state, regional, national. But again, this allows you to kind of generate interest. The next is consideration. So through this process, how do you drive engagement with current and new customers? This can be done through social media, through paid social, and that can be done targeted again to a specific audience in a specific area of town. And again, that's communicating really your value proposition. So what do we do best? How do we do it? And how do you drive more business to you? And then last but not least is intent-based. Consumers are, when they're ready to actually take action, how do I get them to engage? How do I get them to engage with me? And it's very, very important at that point. You have to remind them of the things that you offer, why you separate yourself from the competitors. It's very important. In this funnel, to be honest, this funnel can look a lot of different ways, but this is kind of the core value that we look at when helping folks put together that playbook. These are kind of the 4 key pillars that we look at, and what tactics make the most sense in each one of those pillars. So,
right. And then obviously, the 3 pillars for really connecting to consumers, the overarching themes is it's going to be competitive out there, and you need to rely on trust and reach and the right message. So, and you're going to get a copy of this whole presentation to kind of go through more depth. I don't want to bore anybody, but here are the things that we see. Reach is really important because you have your frequent customers, and those frequent customers are most likely participating in your database or your social media following. So nurturing that is great, but it's a small section of your customer base. Then you have the infrequent customers, and those are the ones that have hopefully had a good experience and they want to come back for more. So that's a large portion of your business. And then usually the market share, there aren't many businesses out there that have a 70 or 70% or higher market share, right? So always trying to find a way to be present and bringing these new customers. You also have to be mindful of how brains work. It takes 2 to 3 weeks to create a habit, and I think we're on week 16 of stay-at-home orders and really social distancing. So advertising really just it reminds people that everything is okay and it's a little bit back to normal. It also allows them, it gives them the reminder of you're here, you're open, you're ready. And that helps with creating consumer confidence. So the essentials for operating, right? So first, you want to make sure that you communicate safety for your employees, safety for your customers, and the enhanced efforts that you're going through. You hear this a lot, and it's really, really important. And there's a whole quote about how there's going to be winners and losers. If someone walks into your business or is a customer or has an engagement with you and they don't feel safe, I guarantee you they are going to tell their network. That network can be their friends, their family, it could even be on social. So you really have to make sure that you are going beyond the call of duty. But also, as you're doing that and being so cautious, you're going to create raving fans. Customers want to support local businesses. There is so much optimism around that. So if you can wow in customer service and then encourage people to share that great experience to help support you by leaving a positive review, by telling their friends, by offering referral discount, by having them talk on your social following channels, that is gold right now. So nurturing that. Also finding ways to be creative about it too. So if you don't want to be, one thing you don't want is for your social channel to be dark right now, because then people make the assumption that you're not as active. If anything, you want to be more active on your social media. Your website needs to change more often because I feel like we're living in dog years right now in terms of how fast things are moving. So being present, engage that social media following. So next to the recommendation on making sure your website is ready for that 24-hour, the 24-hour showroom is open, being very engaged with your social media followers is hugely important. And if you had to invest in one thing after your website, it would be building out a social following. The reason this is important is because people are spending a lot more time on social media. And once you've gotten someone to like or follow, and be a part of that tribe, it's very inexpensive to remarket to them and bring them closer and closer in to your tribe. So be in real time. The other thing is to be present. So the third thing I would say is making sure that, if you're going to change your hours, and on Saturday, starting tomorrow, Saturdays, your hours are going to be only open until 5, you can update that in real time through different reputation management apps. Highly recommend it. And Amanda will be able to follow up with you on those types of things. The last thing is be entrepreneurial. Think outside of the box. Some of the coolest things we're seeing are how people are making kits for their customers and marketing those, and really just trying to super serve people. Having those virtual consults that we never would have thought. Who would have thought that a Rotary meeting would have been completely virtual? So there are benefits to this. To bring people more closely together. I used to laugh at one of my employees who used to FaceTime all of her customers, and I was like, you're crazy. And now it's just a better experience than a standard conference call. So the only thing we'll say is the one thing you can't do is be quiet. Quiet in the consumer's mind right now means closed. So you can't expect that they're going to realize exactly how much you're operating. So that's really important. And then find partners who have your back. You know, what we're finding is a lot of vendors do a great job. We pride ourselves on the reputation we have with our clients here, but find somebody you trust and work as deeply as you can with them, because the more that you bring them into your business, the more they become vested and the more they want to rally and help you through that. So, and Amanda can talk to it. She read my bio early on. I will tell you, her bio includes not just a lot of goodness and community service, but she has raving fans for her customers. They love her. She spends a lot of time nurturing them and taking care of them, and it shows. So there is a resource I wanted to also let you know is available to you. iHeart partnered with the U.S. Small Business Administration to create the Small Business Crisis Center. There's podcasts and how-tos and all sorts of links to different articles. One of the questions that I love from one of the sharks is, you know, what may need to change about how you offer your products and services in the future? Because one thing we're finding is consumer behavior is going to remain different. It's all been expedited, so making sure we're aware of all of that. And then we're fortunate. We help more than 1,000 clients here in Central Ohio, and this is just a little bit of an overview of the extension. So if anything is curious to you, please connect with Amanda, and she'll be there to support you and build out any recommendations that you might have. So I hope this was helpful. So now we're over to Q&A.
Thanks, Kris and Ben. So if anybody has a question, please unmute your mic, and if I see you raise your hand, I'll try to call on you as well. So we'll try to facilitate this a little bit for you.
Thank you.
Anybody have a burning marketing question, how to get their business going post-COVID or during COVID? I'm not sure how long post-COVID is going to be until we get to that point. Anybody?
I got a question.
Sure.
Are you a very good presentation? I enjoyed it.
Thank
Are
you.
you primarily focused on services or on products?
Both. It truly depends. So we have our business portfolio is probably 35% service, and the rest is definitely products. But one of the things that we pride ourselves on is really being able to study the intent you're trying to help your customer, whether it's a service, B2B, B2 consumer, whatever you're trying to accomplish, really analyzing that and almost walking in as consultants saying, if I owned this company, what would I recommend they do? So it skews more towards products, but services is a big part of what we do, especially professional services.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, as Kris mentioned earlier too, in our presentation, we'd be more than happy on the business side to do an analysis. We can do basically for your business website a search engine optimization assessment, and then what we call a local lock scan. It's like going to the doctor for an EKG. You come to our office, we hook you up and basically spits out a report, and we can talk with you about the things that we find that could help the business.
Do you also build websites?
We do website development as well, yes.
We do.
I'll start probably talking to you then.
Cool.
Perfect.
Andy, you have a question?
I do. So thanks for your presentation today. It was great, Kris and Ben. A question about a lot of the folks that I work with are really struggling with how do they adapt their marketing in today's day and age with the social media channels and the expanding needs and expanding ways that you try to reach consumers, particularly in a B2C environment where consumers' eyeballs are in so many different places, as you highlighted in the beginning.
They are. Yeah. For me, it comes down to trust. There are influencers out there that do an amazing job. It's authentic. And there is a whole lot of mistrust of just people that are, is it a robot? Is it a real person? How honest is it? Transparency, we find, is really important in all that we do. So yes, we have great social media fans, and there's some cool things that can be done to help authenticate a relationship and then an endorsement, for an example. And we can extend those onto social. which is really neat. So it's not just someone saying on broadcast, hey, I love Diamond Seller. We actually will send Kelsey to Diamond Seller and you can see her ring. And then you're like, wow, they really mean what I say. So, and it's also a nice way for our personalities to be real people. Because one of the things that social media has allowed everybody to do is it used to be the stars. You only saw them when they were in a movie or at an event. And now you get a peek 24 hours a day into their world for whatever they want to share. So, so we do a lot of different types of programs. We do have something called Social Ignite, which is where you can control the message a little bit. So instead of it just organically going out, we would actually create a message that feels candid and real, because that's important right now. Real and not making anything over polished is really important, because perfect is kind of suspect right now, which is an interesting trend that's happening. But in this case, what you can do is we create a video or a picture or a post that you get to look at and approve, but then that personality can share it. And then we can actually buy paid social media on behalf of the advertisement. So it actually feels like, although it's a boosted post, it feels very real. And we're seeing a lot of activity, clicks, likes, shares, those types of things. We also have found some really good programs that we talked about building out a social following. Because the goal in my mind is to build up that social following so you can nurture those relationships. So we have a lot of programs that allow us to do sweepstakes and promotions to get people to like and share content. So if there's a really cool prize that can be given, all someone has to do to enter is to like or to share. Or if they like something and then they share it, they get a couple different bonus entries. We have technology that allows us to do that too.
That's great. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
It looks like John Stewart had a question about Yelp.
Okay.
Yes. A while back, they were accused of sort of a pay to play.
Yeah.
So you had to kind of like bribe them to get a good review. What's happened to that?
You know, Ben, do you know anything about that? Because I don't know what they've done to resolve that.
Yeah, I don't either. It's kind of gone back and forth for the last few months on the pay-to-play situation. I can tell you that they are included as part of our Local Lock platform. That's one of the verticals providers that we monitor. So by using our Local Lock platform, all of your information on Yelp would be updated, as well as you could respond to any reviews from Yelp. But I'm not quite sure where they currently stand on that acquisition.
We can look into that for you. But yeah, when we say that we update things on Yelp, it's more of an easy way for you to have your hours updated. It's just one of the platforms, the apps that we update through Local Lock, as well as when a review comes in, you would be instantaneously notified of that and be able to respond. But you're talking to.
Do you have to pay them separately in order to get any reviews there, or?
No, we're not seeking out reviews for you. It's a notification process. So they would notify you of the review, and then you can respond to that review saying, hey, thanks for the great, appreciate the high five, and or, hey, I'm sorry you didn't have a great experience. We'd like to reach out as soon as possible to try and resolve it. It just shows a human side to the business, but you're not advertising on Yelp. Any other questions? Yeah, Tom?
Yeah, I would really notice that you said somewhere about news fatigue and also how people were longing for good news.
Yes.
I'd love to hear a little bit more about what is going on through your channels.
Sure.
And what trends you're seeing about how people are responding to good news.
Right. Okay, that's a great question. So early on, the first 3 to 4 weeks of all the shutdowns, people wanted to be informed every day. How many more people have it? What do I need to know? Our news talk station had 7 times the amount of engagement around those types of reports. But then something interesting happened. So we have a company, an internal company that does all the, they remarket to our listeners and really get feedback from them on what they want and what they don't want. And what we found is that people were getting so sad at hearing these hard facts over and over again. And so they started to just get numb to it and almost like start to flip off from a news report. So if we got too into the hard facts, they were literally bouncing from our content. And so then we started to say, we asked them, well, what do you really want? They're like, I want to see the light at the end of the tunnel. I want someone to tell me it's going to be okay. I can't see my friends. I need you to be more of that person for me. So we started creating good news segments. And these good news can be all sorts of things, from my nonprofit, which is Make Kindness Contagious, and the things that kids were doing to paint encouraging messages on sidewalk chalk of people as they go out and walk more, to just businesses doing good, which, by the way, today's consumer now expects. They want to know how socially responsible a company is going to be. So we started seeing all of that. The fatigue is very familiar to remember the election cycle back in 2016? I'm not going to get political, but I will tell you, remember when you were watching a show and all you saw were screaming ads left and right, and you just felt like you were being bombarded? That's kind of what our listeners were telling us they were feeling with some of the reporting. So we flipped to more encouragement, bringing in experts. In Columbus, we started a program called 6-1 Forward, which talks about leaders here in this great metropolis that are doing good and helping their companies through and willing to share advice. We partnered with One Columbus on that. So that's what we're seeing. And I will tell you, the election cycle is going to get pretty interesting here in Ohio. I thought we were going to avoid it, which I actually personally, as a consumer, was looking forward to not being a swing state, because I can't stand screaming ads and negativity. Unfortunately, there was $5 million in the 2016 election from candidate funds, and there are already reservations on $18 million worth of spend across the state of Ohio in candidate funds. So I will tell you, OTT does give you a way to avoid that, because you can buy guaranteed impressions no matter which vendor you go through to kind of avoid that. But I think that's actually going to cause a lot more cords to cut, to be candid.
Well, Kris and Ben, yeah, thanks, Tom. Kris and Ben, I want to thank you for sharing your research and your marketing tips with our membership today, and appreciate it. Wish you guys the best of luck. And
We appreciate it.
hope you have a great afternoon. Next week, our program is going to feature a program on malaria partners. Hope everyone has a wonderful rest of their week. We are adjourned.